Thank you so much for staying with us. A lot of question on just how will the nation get out of the present state it has found itself. Professor Patu Tomi, a political economist and a former presidential candidate, joins me now in the studio to discuss state of the nation and several other issues pertaining to the economy of Nigeria. Many thanks for coming on the program. It's always a pleasure having you.
I'm glad I'm here, but I have to tell you, my village people have a fine for you for dragging me out here. So after you bring the he-goat, the she-goat, and the hen.
Oh, very interesting, but I mean, this is a cost that we must, embark on. Interesting. Let's start with the budget.
Okay.
Are you disappointed with the state way things are going right now concerning the 2016 budget?
Well, process is never going to be a very smooth one. There's going to be learning, there's going to be falling, there's going to be getting up, but I'd hope that it will be a different track. I think that if the party played a greater leadership role in engaging with governance, even though it's a presidential system, it would be able to, I think, better handle some of the things that are challenging us.
A lot of people will wonder that why is it difficult? It's not a government where you have the executive in one party and the legislature in another party. It's a party that clearly stated what they wanted for Nigeria, and it's becoming so difficult to get that across to Nigeria with their very first budget.
Well, the truth is, from the very beginning, there was a need, and there wasn't too much time to do that, for the party to play a role in ensuring that everybody who ran for office under his banner accepted a certain worldview, accepted certain basic principles of how to get things done. But as can happen with these things, it was patchy, it went fairly quickly, and I don't think that we managed to build that well enough. And that's part of the challenge that the process is facing. However, leadership could have made it different. Leadership matters in any of these things. If leadership had a broad understanding of the nature of the challenges being faced and ensured an inclusive process, it would have been a lot easier. It's not going to be easy, but at least easier. The bottom line is the Nigerian people are hurting very badly. And I think part of our problem is the nature of our process disconnects people in political office from the real people. I was just a couple of days ago with a group of African leaders outside of Nigeria, and we're talking about how Nigeria managed to get the way it got to in terms of a disconnected elite. Take simple things like I hear all the talk about cars bought by assembly and that and that. Very few African countries you get so much effort in officialdom, fancy cars, chauffeurs. Ministers drive themselves in many African countries, come, park their cars, go in. But somehow I think part of the legacy of military rule disconnects the Nigerian political elite from the Nigerian people. And I think that failure to feel the people leads to interests that are more of the power, the personal, the group game, overriding the broad interests of ordinary people. And ordinary people are hurting. And if people in power know that ordinary people are hurting, the entire effort, no matter what differences they have, should be how can we stop the people we're serving from hurting.
So, the present government of the day does not really have that connection with the average Nigerian in this kind of situation. Nigerian.
I'm just saying the political class as a class.
Not peculiar to this government.
No, it's a culture challenge that Nigerian politics needs to change. If it doesn't change it, it will not serve the system well. And it will create problems because really people in power don't. I cannot imagine at the time of recession, of people struggling to pay children's fees, of people trying to eat one meal a day, that people in power will be discussing their privileges in the way that openly people in positions in Nigeria are talking about these kinds of cars we are entitled to. There is a certain entitlement mentality of Nigerian political class that the Nigerian people serve them, and that is wrong.
Instead of them, the other way around.
Yes, It's an entitlement mentality. And I think it comes from out of military rule. But that's a long story too.
Does it really, I mean, does that really openly and clearly come to the fore in the issue of the 2016 budget?
The 2016 budget, it's a combination of many factors. I mean, you're not going to put one thing on finger on it. It's part of a challenge of transition. It's part of clarity. It's part of a problem of politics between arms of government. The budgetary process always has politics anywhere in the world. But at the bottom of it all must be a sensitivity to when the people are hurting the most.
But I mean, a lot of politicians will say perhaps President Buhari is not playing that politics properly, as it should be, for us to have a smooth passage of the budget.
Leadership matters. It doesn't matter how. But properly, what does properly mean? You know, for some people, properly is playing some old game that should not be played. What is properly? But definitely, leadership involves engaging. And if we're more engaged, we probably can get more done. But I don't have enough information to know whether there's a level of engaging that should take place to go through challenges like this. But that's what leadership is about. I
mean, naturally, what would you say was needed? Because Nigeria was at that point. In 2015, I'm very sure that you remember, a lot of things were said about Nigeria in 2015. We're going to split as a nation. There's going to be a lot of crises in the nation. The oil problem began and it hit very badly until 2016 that it got in all-time bad. And a lot of people will be wondering, a government that brought a lot of hope during the electioneering process, what went wrong?
Now, I think that one of the things that we need to recognize is that most people did not expect that we would have as easy a transition as we had. But the desire of the Nigerian people to move on drove a certain momentum that allowed that ease of transition to take place. It gave tremendous amount of legitimacy to the incoming regime. And the process involves how you use legitimacy that you have earned. And in my opinion, I think the politics of how that was used to mobilize people, get everybody focused on a clear goal, somehow we didn't do as well as we could. And some people began to feel, wait a minute, is this about us? Are we left out? And it's about inclusion. You know, we're in the 21st century. You can go back to how the world was seen after the Peace of Westphalia in 1648 and all of that, and sovereignty. No. Today, sovereignty is earned every day by government. It's earned by making everybody feel that they are part of this journey. If they feel that they're not part of the journey, they have a right to say, we're in modern slavery. And you have a duty to earn the legitimacy that you have as a government. And that's work in progress every day. And sometimes I think our political leadership doesn't often realize this. They think, oh, somebody's expendable, those groups are expendable, who are they? If you don't earn their legitimacy, say to them you don't want them, and they have a right into this world to opt out. So the real business of leading is a business of including. I keep referring to Mahathir Mohamad's a remarkable work in Malaysia, and his mantra was, it's better for everybody to be inside the house, pissing out, and for some people to be outside the house, pissing in. Because as your legitimacy erodes, political power erosion is an ongoing thing in every democratic situation. As your power erodes because people are not fully included, then people can chop away, and effectiveness. I mean, how could we go from 5,000 megawatts to a situation of zilch at a point in time? It's all part of power erosion. And I think that if we understood that quickly enough and realized that you need a mindset that says, look, we're not going to get anywhere unless everybody is inside the house, looking at a great tomorrow that affects all their children, and for that reason is pulling towards that direction.
A lot of Nigerians at this point want something, and it's clear how how they're going to get their family work. I mean, feed their families, get food on their table, and a whole lot of that. A lot of Nigerians also are expecting this 2016 budget to be passed. But if the budget is passed, because all of the bottlenecks that are on the budget now, if the budget is passed, from a political economics point of view, does this budget look like a document or a machine that will drive hope into the hearts of many Nigerians in the end?
Well, first and foremost, I think that we should realize that effort is being made in this process to stimulate economic activity. We have mistakes that have come from the past that we're challenged by. One of the biggest is the fact that we did not save. I'm thankful that Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala herself, speaking in Washington a few days ago, made that point. I mean, I've been talking about it forever. Back in 2000, 2001, I made enemies of some very good friends who were in state government when I kept insisting the government needed to save, and they were quarreling about that. But President Obasanjo found the political will to do that, and some savings took place and saved us from the crisis of 2008. But after that, we lost the will to save. I remember when I harassed her at an event with Joseph Stiglitz, the Lagos Business School. She said, yes, you're right, but you see, the politicians wouldn't let us save. I said to her, who are the politicians? Now we are all paying a terrible price for this failure to do what is routine for any thinking group of people. So we got into this crisis, we had no savings, and so the economy really went into a downward spiral. To get us out, we really don't have as much as we should have to stimulate activity. We need to find friends, we need to borrow, we need to do a few things, but we can stimulate the economy again, and I think it should happen. But plenty of work has to be done.